glad to have you back. Nigeria has an electrification rate of 45%, and despite this relatively low figure, in conjunction with the significant issues undermining power supply in the country, demand for electricity keeps increasing. It is important to note that the Nigerian power sector will require substantially more investments to achieve a reliable 24/7 power supply. As industry operators talked about bridging this gap and also to cushion the effect will require as much as 100 billion in investment over the next 20 years. In a bid to bridge this country's metering gap and also cushion the effect of service reflective tariff on electricity consumers in the country, as well as increase power supply, the federal government launched the National Mass Metering Program. The regulation aims to bring new money into the market to finance meter deployments, to close metering gaps as less as 50% of the customers are currently metered, removing estimated billings and related issues, and begin to alleviate some collection-related challenges faced by electricity distribution companies. With a huge infrastructural gap that has hindered its desire to exploit its rich natural and human resources to stimulate its development. The power sector in the country has not been spared from this deficit. In spite of the country's huge oil and gas, sunlight and hydro resources, Nigeria cannot generate enough electricity to drive its development. Well, I have joining me to give more insights into our second topic of discuss. He is the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Century Power Generation Limited, Dr. Chukwueloka Ume. Thank you very much, Dr. Ume, for your time. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me today, Tolu.
It's good to see you. I want to start with this new metering scheme. It's being talked about everywhere. It's in the media. It's everywhere. I don't know. Do you really see this as the solution to the metering problem we've grappled with for some time now?
I think just one more way the government is trying to help metering problem. Means now what they're trying to do, based on what we've understood, CBN is supposed to lend money to the DP to help them buy meter. We're going to manufacturing. We're also going to help to get some more meters into the hands of them. I think we can do much more, but this is the right step. I mean, it's a step in the right direction to help this problem.
Dr. Ume, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you very well. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think it's better now. So now the central bank and of course the federal government continues to inject funding into most importantly activities of the discos, and they still have the liquidity issue on one side. How do we bridge all of this gap? And Nigerians want better services from these distribution companies. So where do we draw the line?
What I've always said, the government putting money into the sector is good if it's directed to the right parts of the sector. Now, giving loans to the people or to make meters or manufacturers to make meters is good. It helps the economy. The government has also now allowed to increase tariff, electricity tariff. I said it before, it came at the wrong time. However, it's also in the step of, it's also a step in the right direction to help liquidity in the market. If meters are in the hands of customers, people are actually going to pay what they use. With the increase in the tariff, people are also going to be paying something, a price that is reflective of the power that is sent to their homes and to their office and to the factory. So this helps put more money in the system. We're talking about liquidity. Liquidity really just means the amount of money circulating in the sector, coming from the distributors, from the discos to TCN to the GENCOs, and then to pay for the gas suppliers if you're running a thermal plant. So these are little things that help to improve liquidity in the market. And I think, I've said this before, I think, and I'm probably heard me say it before. Everything that we've done so far, they're good. However, the fundamental problem still hasn't been solved. And that fundamental problem that I always say is The entire sector should be driven by private companies, not by the government. Okay? So these things that the government is doing is okay, they're helping, but they're not helping quickly enough. Let's allow the private companies to drive the sector, and you see they're going to do all these things that need to be done. There's money out there to invest in the power sector, money in other countries that is ready to come into Nigeria. And it's only when private sector runs this entire power industry that you see these monies coming and stay here.
I guess Nigerians are worried that if private sector players take over, it could be more expensive. And, they might want maybe better supply before that happens. So it now comes to that question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I've heard that argument everywhere, that if I have better supply, I'll pay more. Because, that's been the argument, Dr. Ume.
Yeah, Tolu, we've talked about this chicken and egg conundrum several times before. If I am a producer of a product, I want to be paid the right price for my product. I'm not going to produce the product first and then hope that someone's going to pay me the right price. No, I want to be sure that I'll get the right price for my product so I can make a profit before I will provide that product to the person that wants to buy. So we keep talking about the people who want to see more power before they pay more money. It's not going to happen because, again, this is not a charity. The people producing the power, people selling fuel, the people sending the power to the homes and the companies and so on and so forth, want to make a profit. So they want to get paid the right price. And this is why the government keeps subsidizing or has kept subsidizing the sector. But I'm saying that money that they use to subsidize the sector can be used to develop other parts of the country, other parts of the economy to directly help people. If we build roads, build better roads, provide better healthcare, provide better schools, provide better security, these other sectors will help people to build small businesses that can now afford to pay for the power. Because without power, someone wants to set up a small industry, for example, and the first thing they do is they go buy a generator, a diesel generator or a petrol generator. Guess what? They've already eroded their profit margins to a large extent, and they don't realize this. And this is why when you import goods all the way from China or wherever, other countries, they are usually more affordable than goods produced in Nigeria. This is the conundrum. So I say, pay the right price. This will incentivize the private sector to produce more power. I know it's painful. I mean, my electricity bill has gone up quite a bit. It's painful to my pocket. But as someone in the power industry, I understand that this needs to be done.
Well, you understand that this needs to be done. Well, anyway, we'll see how Nigerians will react to this. But I totally know that something needs to be done for better services and, of course, better funding coming into the discourse, especially the discourse at this time. Now, I'm going back to metering again. Local capacity is also something that worries me, Dr. Ume. Is there any space? Are we building capacity with regards to metering and meters production? Because this can also help grow our economy.
You're exactly right. Building meters in Nigeria will help to grow our economy. We manufacture them here. We employ people. People have more money to spend. However, go back again to the fundamentals. These people that are trying to manufacture are probably buying most or all of their spare parts overseas, and you hear of completely knocked down or partially knocked down meters that come in and are assembled here. Assembling these things here, yes, it helps us hire some people, but it still is not what we need to be doing. We need to be building, we need to be manufacturing these things here almost completely. That helps several different parts of our economy. So the central bank has done the right thing. They've taken the right step to fund or provide loans, cheap loans, and I must say these loans are cheap. They're in the single digits, and some of them are long-term loans with about 2 years moratorium. So it's a good thing that they've done. However, we still need to look at the fundamentals. We still need to look at why can we not manufacture some of the raw materials here? We don't even have the steel industry in this country. I went to a factory in Nnewi about 2 weeks ago when I was doing a round looking at different companies that can take power. These guys import nails from China. Nails that are used to build roofs are imported from China. But we produce iron in this country. Why can't we make steel? Okay, so again, we need to start fixing the fundamentals. And that's why I said some of this money that's being used to subsidize the power industry, that used to shore up the power industry, should actually go to help other sectors of the country so that we can actually start doing proper manufacturing here. So the metering rollout, it's happening. It's, in my opinion, not fast enough. There's some discos, I think 3 discos, Abuja, Edo, and Eko, that said they metered about 50% of their entire registered customers. Now, a question you're going to ask, how many registered customers do they actually have? That's a percentage of the entire population in those states. I think it's still a fraction. So there's so much more work that needs to be done to meter people.
Real work needs to be done. There's also the saying in the sector, it's always about expanding the network and improving supply. And this goes would always say, we've not broken even. We need to make some money for us to be able to expand and improve. Now, with this little increment that we've seen, it's not even little, it's ×2, even for me directly. So with this increment that we've seen, yes, a little bit of stability in supply. What should we expect from these goals about improving capacity, at least one way or the other? Let's walk both sides so that we can at least agree together.
You know, the discos have a point. They want to make their money before they can invest more money. You know, they can go take loans to expand the network if they are sure that those loans can be paid back profitably. They should be encouraged to expand the network. And expanding the network really means having more registered customers in their individual networks. And this takes money. They need to put in lines, they need to put in transformers, they need to obviously deploy meters. So they need to be encouraged to expand the network so that more Nigerians can get electrified. I mean, you can imagine in some states where you have a population of about 10 million, and we're talking about registered customers about about 10% of the populace. That's nothing. So that means that the remaining part of the population are either stealing the electricity or they're completely off-grid. Now, we have many programs that we're banding around in the country, but in my opinion, some of these programs are distractions. The discos need to be allowed to make investments, and they also need to be allowed to charge the right amount of money, which we've been talking about, the cost-reflective tariff in some of these places, so that they can start to make their money back. This is the only way we can actually start to push to expand networks. And, the more the government relaxes some of their regulations in the sector, the more it helps to get to help these guys to expand the network. And then we also have to think about where is our gas pipeline network in the country? We're building 2 major pipelines in the country today. The OB3 pipeline going from the south-south to the southwest, and then the AKK pipeline going to the north. But you have other parts of the country that don't have a proper network in it. When you put proper networks in these places, proper gas networks in these places, then you can have power plants situated in these different areas. That way you don't necessarily have to deal with a lot of transmission to get power to these places. That would help accelerate this expansion of the network, to a much more, in my opinion, reasonable pace. So the only way we can do this really, again, and I keep saying it and I'm going to keep saying it, allow private sector to do what they need to, what they know how to do, which is do the business. Don't worry about the price gouging. It's not going to happen. I mean, look at the telecoms industry. It's completely run by private sector. NCC is regulating and doing a very good job regulating them, but they've allowed the sector to grow before regulating it quite stiffly. The same thing should be allowed to happen here. And unless we do this, I'm sorry, Tolu, we will come back next year. You and I are going to have this conversation. Come 5 years from now, we're going to have the same conversation.
All right, before I let you go, Dr. May, let's look at our prospects for Nigeria's electricity industry, particularly looking off-grid? Because we are so focused on this grid thing. What are your prospects as we move on in 2021, where maybe with regards to off-grid and how we can just improve power outside the grid?
That's an interesting question. About some 5 years ago, we started talking about, the government got serious about talking about an off-grid solution, so solar installation, and there was a lot of flurry of activity to sign power purchase agreements for solar plants, and 14 power purchase agreements were signed back in 2017, about 2017. Out of those PPAs, how many of those companies have actually built one solar plant? One. My point is that we have a grid. The grid is insufficient. Every developed nation has a grid that actually works. Without a stable grid that actually works, we are going to keep distracting ourselves talking about these off-grid solutions rather than putting all efforts to make our grid work. We're talking about off-grid solutions that are, in my opinion, a drop in the ocean compared to what we need. Think about this. If our statistics are correct, Nigeria has over 200 million people, still producing about 5,000 megawatts of electricity. And we're talking about off-grid solutions. One solar plant could do, 100 megawatts at the maximum. Here in Nigeria today, some other countries, you find solar plants that can do about 1,000 megawatts. But we're not ready in Nigeria to do this. I think our efforts need to be focused on fixing the grid. The grid, if it works right, will provide stable, quality electricity to the country, to the entire country, anyone that wants to connect and hook up to the grid. And if it works right, you're going to find that all these trips that we continue to have, all this grid collapse that we're going to continue to see, will not happen. Our frequency will not fluctuate as much as it can. So people can actually buy equipment or manufacture without damaging the equipment because of unstable electricity. People will stop installing their own generating plants, running either diesel or gas or water. This is the right way for us to go if we're serious about becoming. I'm not seeing one industrialized nation that has done it in any other way. So we need to focus, and we need to stop looking for quick fixes. Quick fixes will not help this country. It has never helped, and it will still never help us. So we need to do the right. Bite the bullet and do what is hard, do what is right. Fix our grid, fix the sector.
All right, it's always a pleasure having you. Join us on the show, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Century Power Generation Limited, Dr. Chukweluka Ume. We appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.